as you said, alumni relations and community falls under you. So if worst case scenario, there weren't successors for those positions next year, one, would you be willing to take on those positions, responsibilities, or like at least some of them? And two, how would you go about like maintaining and keeping those connections?
Okay. If I were to be completely honest, I didn't think I'd be standing in front of all of you today running for EVP because first I wish I had been certain positions that I thought were maybe tailored to me, that fit my personality. And so in terms of alumni, I think that it's so important to retain those connections just because it's invaluable knowing that there's someone out there that might be, you know, in a similar position like where, you know, we might be. And so in terms of both alumni and community, both the directors that fall under me, I feel like I'm more than willing to take on the responsibilities. And if I feel that I'm not handling them correctly, or if I'm not maintaining contact with alumni, or I'm not really doing my job in terms of overseeing what's happening with the community and seeing, you know, are workshops still going on? Are we doing what we can to give back to the community? I would talk to the board. I would talk to the rest of the board if need be, and say, I really need help. Is there any way we can do this? Because it's really important that we stick to everything that we stand for. Like, I'm not really sure how to word it. We have to uphold the principles that we promote to others. I think PASS has to encapsulate everything. So that's talking to alumni, you know, doing what we can for the community. Every single pillar needs to be upheld, regardless of whether those positions are filled or not.
One responsibility of being an external vice president is to go out to other Alianza organizations, including Alianza board meetings. As simple as it sounds, it does require you to take some of your own time to be a presence. How will you be a presence of PASS when attending other organizations' general meetings?
I think, as I mentioned in my platform, I think the position of EVP is so important just because I mentioned as EVP you'd be the face of PASS. There is the president, but I feel that in terms of just meeting with other Alianza orgs or other outside organizations, you're the one that has to go out there and talk about PASS, you know, say who you are, where you're coming from. In terms of specifically like Alianza, what I plan on doing is not just going to their general meetings, if that makes sense. I intend on being really proactive. I think that EVP is more than just making externals of other organizations, if that makes sense. It's kind of, yes, you become a general member for each Alianza organization, but you're not just the general member. Like, I would want to walk into a room and, you know, learn how to command space so that when I walk in, people are like, oh, that's Angeline, and she's from PASS, and you need to check PASS out because Angeline's here, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, you need to, as EVP, it's important to just have that association. Like, you need to have presence, which is something I'm still working on, because to anyone who has ever seen me or met me or anything like that, I confess, like, I'm more introverted than I am extroverted. So that's why it's hard for me to, it was difficult for me to even decide to run for EVP, but I think PASS is worth it. You need, like, as EVP, should I become EVP, I intend on just going out to as many general meetings, as many workshops, as many events for each specific organization and learning more about each organization so that at the end of the day, like, if I walk into a PASS meeting and someone talks to me and they're like, oh, like, I'm an engineer, like, for example, let's take Fusion, like, I'm talking to an engineering major in PASS who's at a PASS meeting and saying, like, I really don't know what I want to do, like, I'm looking for ways to kind of figure out what I want to do. Say they're undeclared engineering. I'm sorry, I'm being really broad here. It's kind of weirdly specific also. But like, you know what I mean? It's like if I go to a Fusion meeting and I know they have Fusion families, I could refer them to Fusion and say, hey, you need to check out Fusion then, because they have different programs that can help you. And so as I said in my platform, as EVP, I would have to learn about each organization so that I can tailor to past members, to other general members, so that I'm informed about everything. So I can help out someone who can benefit from our organization's programs or another organization's programs. Because in all honesty, we're working together. We work for our general members, you know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, that's what I would do.
Kevin, and then Christine.
What would you do if your schedule doesn't permit you to go to certain Alianza clubs, including their events?
Okay, that's a tough one. Because I know that EVP requires a lot of sacrifice in terms of you have to make time for other orgs. Like, you have to be mindful of when their meetings are and when their programs are being held. Because in all honesty, if I were to become EVP, I'd want to be at every single one. Just in terms of being EVP, being a general member of that organization. If in the chance that I don't have time in my schedule, I would definitely communicate that to board. Like I would say, hey, PUSO's having this really cool event over the weekend. I want PASS to be there, but I'm not going to be able to go because so-and-so. I would try my best to persuade them, like, PASS needs to be there. So we have presence, and also so that we're there to support our fellow Alianza organization. It would be something that I would have to work out with board.
So I think it's an understatement to say that the EVP is a very big undertaking. So let me put that in perspective. You have PUSO's meeting from 5 to 6 plus their after event. On Wednesday you have PASS's meeting, and then right after that you have Fusion's meeting all the way up to 8 o'clock. And then on Thursday you have CABO's meeting, plus an Alianza meeting on Sunday, and your board meeting on Sunday as well, which can go on late into the night. So my question is, you being a student, how will you prioritize being an EVP? And how will you prioritize being an EVP on top of your responsibilities now, and what you take on next year?
When I first decided when I submitted my acceptance for this position, the acceptance of the nomination, I knew that it's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of sacrifice. And not to say that every other board position doesn't sacrifice a lot also, but in terms of time, in terms of just finding the motivation to go to each organization, I think I possess, I don't know. At the end of the day, I really just want to promote that feeling of mutual support. So I would do my best to work things out. I would prioritize going to meetings, going to events, but like I said with Kevin, in the event that I can't, I would talk to my board members and really try to work something out. Because at the end of the day, we have to work together. And I would want PASS to be there at every single program event that another Alianza organization is holding. And I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. I do have a lot on my plate also, but I can tell you this, that I would give 110%. I would try my very best to be there, just because I think it's important that we show face, that we're there to show that PASS is here, PASS is here for this organization.
Leslie, and you're next. Okay, so there hasn't been a person to successfully fulfill the position in the past 2 years. What will you do to help revive and develop the position again?
I realize that there really hasn't been an EVP for the past 2 years, and it's hard because I can't exactly tell you or anyone else how I feel about it, because I've only been I'm a second year, so I don't know what it was like having an EVP and not having an EVP. I guess I don't know the difference, but in terms of just reviving, you know, I guess the spirit that EVP brings to board, brings to the table, I would show. I'm very enthusiastic. So at the end of the day, I care about PASS a lot, so much that it. And in terms of just working with Alianza, I think that we have something great with Alianza, and so I would work with the other EVPs or the other board members of other organizations, just so we can kind of revive that spirit of mutual support, mutual love, Alianza. Yeah. So it's more along the lines of like just channeling my passion for PASS and then just kind of spreading that to other orgs. And I think I'm really enthusiastic, so I think I can bring that to the table.
All right. So I guess I don't want to sugarcoat this question too much. So I'm just gonna so in the current state of how Alianza is right now, we don't exactly work that very well together. And so I just want to know, as someone who's coming from never having board experience, just like an intern, and only having like this very outside perspective on what Alianza is, how do you plan on going about being the EVP and maybe trying to build strong relations, not only just within the entire community, but even just within your own Alianza board?
Would you mind repeating the very first part of that question?
Yeah, so as it currently stands, Alianza board does not work well together.
Right.
So I want to know how you would basically go about improving not only relations with the community, but within the board.
Within Alianza board?
Yes.
Okay.
Because like as EVP, you are part of Alianza board.
Okay. I would start with just, I mentioned in my platform that I really intend on learning about each organization and what they stand for, what their principles are, what programs they're holding. And I think, how do I say this? I'm willing to put myself out there. So at first, the first thing I would do as EVP is just make sure that I'm attending meetings for each organization and really kind of inserting myself within each organization's atmosphere. And so I would be a general member for each, but I would also want to build that association with myself in PASS, so people know I'm from PASS also. I tend to be, no, it's weird because I'm kind of quiet but kind of loud also. So I think in working with Alianza board, if I see that something's not happening, in terms of like we're not bonding or there aren't events being held that could further promote that feeling of mutual support, then I would say something. I would say, hey, I really think we need to work on this. I really think that we need to take some time and just establish bonds within ourselves so that we get along better and then it's better for everyone else involved. Yeah, just in terms of Alianza board, it's really hard because, as you said, I really don't have previous board experience, but as an intern, I feel like I've really learned how to embrace the spirit of collaboration and teamwork. I love working with my intern sisters, and so I would kind of direct that passion, that kind of feeling to working with Alianza board and anyone I come into contact with. Hopefully that answers your question.
Kevin, did you still have a question?
Okay, I saw Daniel, and then one more question.
Can we fit 3 questions?
2 minutes, girl.
Okay, Daniel, Mr. Rosen.
Now to be specific, attending Alianza board meetings is another responsibility. Alianza board meetings are more important than it may seem now. In my opinion, Alianza has so much potential to become great. What sort of ideas do you have to offer to create an environment where all Alianza organizations aren't just simply 4 different entities, but truly represent what Alianza stand for and develop an alliance?
I was actually talking about this the other day. If I were to become EVP and as someone that has to take on the responsibility of working with the Allianz board and the other board members from other organizations, I would establish something like maybe a retreat of some sorts, just so we get to know each other better. Maybe put forth ideas like holding more events in the way beginning, in the beginning of the year, so that we all bond together in the beginning, so that later on we're not so distant from one another, if that makes sense. It's just, I feel like it would be a lot easier to work together as Alianza, as PASS, as Fusion, as Kaba, as PUSO, together if we establish that right from the get-go. So that can happen before the year starts, maybe in the first couple weeks of school. But I feel like it would be manageable just in terms of setting something up. Like we could go for karaoke and you can hear me sing badly, like that kind of thing. Where we get to know one another beforehand, so that we have that spirit of, hey, let's work together. Hey, let's make this great for our general members, for PASS's general members, for PUSO's general members, for every organization's general members. Because at the end of the day, we want to be great, not just as our organization, but as Alianza.
You talk very passionately. Having said that, as someone who hasn't held a board member position before, how will you, in specific, concrete terms, overcome your relative inexperience?
I had to come into terms with myself before I even accepted this nomination.
Feel so bad now.
Give me like, no, oh man, I knew this would happen. So like I was saying, I really had to come in terms with myself before I even accepted this nomination, because initially I really didn't think that I was the right person for the job. Because I have a lot of, I feel like I have a lot of shortcomings and areas of improvement. Shoot, I'm so sorry. So in terms of just kind of getting over the initial, the fact that I don't have a lot of experience, I feel like, sorry. From the internship program, I've learned a lot, just in terms of, learning about, collaboration, teamwork, time management. There's a lot of managerial things that you learn as an intern. It's just trying to meet deadlines, anything like that. I would take everything that I've learned from the internship program, from what I've learned at work, just everything, and I would put it all into being EVP. And so in terms of dealing with my inexperience, I don't feel like it's it's a hurdle, but it's one that I can get over. I can work through it. If it's anything I've learned, I work really hard. I never give 50%, it's always 100 or above. So in terms of that, I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, there's a